So I did a degree in computer science, and it was a really heavy Unix C degree. There was lots of system programming, lots of Unix type modules, and part of that, inherently is cyber. So I was very fortunate. I did my degree, and where I studied in Glamorgan in Wales, they were one of the first two universities to offer a cyber degree.
Nice.
And I was really fortunate that I had funding for it because I did my sort of final year project was related to security, and then I had funding for that then, and I did that for a year. So I did a master's degree then in, as it was then, information security. So before there were cyber, it was infosec. That's how old it
Yeah,
is.
and I think for me at the beginning there was no name actually. You're just a computer
Admin,
guy.
yeah, admin.
Very cool. What were you using back then when you were learning computer security? Like the kind of tools and techniques back then? I'm just
Gosh,
curious.
so this predates a lot of the tooling. I think there was an early version of Nmap knocking around. Cain and Abel was brand new. So
Open source Nessus.
yeah, open source Nessus, so some real old school tooling. And in my degree, I did a lot of C, and I sort of then started using Perl before Python became a thing. So you'd write a lot of your own tools. So within the classes that we had was, right, here's an old bit of infrastructure, create some tooling to sort of rampage around that. So there's a lot of Perl-based stuff that I was writing, and just learning and just absolutely loving it. For about 4 or 5 years, I was absolutely obsessed. I didn't want to talk about anything else. I didn't want to do anything else than just hack machines. That's all I wanted to do.
Nice. Did you have that same problem with Perl where you would write stuff and then come back to it 6 months later and it's really hard to understand?
So, as is my way, I got a bit obsessed. So, we used to play what they call Perl golf. So, you would
Really?
try and factor your code so it would be unreadable. So, the more unreadable, the better the code would be. So, I would spend hours rereading or trying to understand what I was doing because I'd factored it down to such a degree. And then when I moved over to Python, it was a lot easier. It was a good
Yeah.
thing.
It's a completely different world.
Yeah, but at the time, because I was a big C programmer, and there's a lot of overhead with that. So it was good to be a Perl programmer and do sort of system type thing. So I could, I wouldn't lose too much speed, but I could just a lot easier.
What kind of thing did you build in C?
So in uni, we did a mini kernel. That was one of the first projects that we did. We had to read, write ls, an ls command with all its.
Really?
So yeah, just a lot of cool things. We did a remote bash. And when I look back, that must have been really, really insecure, but that was cool.
That's quite a bit. A full shell, a file system.
Yeah, yeah, no, it was a really heavy Unix degree. I didn't realize at the time that there was another world, like sort of Windows was just coming up, because there was a time as well when Windows was a joke in terms of
Right.
security, and I was heavily on the bandwagon for that. And then I
When do you
finished.
mean when you say, I know like 3.1 and
Yeah,
95 and
yeah, 3.1.
XP, those are
95
terrible.
yeah, they were really bad. The security was awful. There was so many bugs. Yeah, it was bad, but
Yep.
fun.
I remember the Microsoft SDL program came around that time. That's when it all changed.
Yeah, there was a memo, wasn't there, that changed everything.
Exactly. They started fuzzing, they started doing everything they should be doing. Very cool.